Tonight, Susan Lorenz behind bars, charged with manslaughter after police say she killed her neighbor by shooting through her front door.
We have arrested 58-year-old Susan Lorenz for the killing of Miss A.J. Owens.
Owens, a mother of four, killed in front of one of her children on Friday.
Yes, a neighborly dispute ended in death by a firearm. Another day in America, another day in Florida. So that is Mrs. Lorenz, who killed A.J. Owens outside of her home through her own front door. And so there's more about Mrs. Lorenz's very particular views on Black people. And I'm sure we can all assume or guess, but just some more details on exactly what went down.
Friday night, after Owens' children were playing outside and approached Lorenz about an iPad they left behind, law enforcement says Lorenz yelled at the kids and threw a roller skate at them, leading Owens to confront Lorenz at her door. Police say Lorenz pulled the trigger, shooting and killing the mother of four.
Just insane. Okay, so according to the sheriff's timeline there, this is again in Ocala, Florida. Lorenz called the department at 8:54 p.m. on the night of the shooting to say kids were threatening her and trespassing. She had previously placed no trespassing signs on the grassy areas, despite those areas being shared areas and not part of her rental in particular. Lorenz says in court that she doesn't even own the property, so as if that mattered. Apparently these neighbors had issues before, that neighbors had witnessed altercations between them before. The sheriff said that in January 2021, deputies responded to at least a half a dozen calls in connection with what police described as feuding between Owens and Lorenz, and that again was confirmed by neighbors. But now we're hearing by Lorenz's own admission that yeah, a lot of what's driving her calling the cops and throwing roller skates had to do with her racism. So Lorenz, 58, admitted to detectives that she called the children the N-word. One child told deputies that the night of the shooting, Lorenz came out of her house, gave the children the middle finger, and also said, "Get away from my house, you black slave," according to the report. So good, fun, neighborly Christian thing to do. And because it is Florida, actually, Ms. Lorenz was not immediately arrested because of the stand your ground laws, which we all remember infamously from the Trayvon Martin, George Zimmerman case. In fact, it took 4 days for the charges to actually be filed. However, the Marion County Sheriff did explain that those stand your ground laws are not going to apply in this case. So just take a look at his statement.
It does not apply in all situations. And this situation is a prime example of when it was not justified. It was simply a killing.
Simply a killing. So she's been charged with manslaughter with a firearm, culpable negligence, battery, and 2 counts of assault. But guys, I want to kick it to you, but I can only think about how in any other country, a neighborly dispute would not end in death. It would end in, I don't know, someone leaving a bag of dog poop outside of their door, and you stuck it to them, you got them. But in this country, that's what it does. Another day and 4 children don't have their mother.
Yep, so I wanna address both of those things. Look, we're now at a situation in America where we have an unsolvable problem. Because if you have someone who's unstable and who's yelling racist things at you, intimidating your kids, throwing things and hitting your kids with objects, etc. The problem is there's nothing you could do, because if you go to try to fix it, they probably have a gun and they're totally unstable. And so, because in America, everyone's allowed to have a gun. Everyone's allowed to have any kind of gun they like. And I love being constructive and I want to offer things that can help you in your life, but we're screwed. Our gun laws are insane, totally insane. We have more guns than people in this country. So when you're dealing with an unstable person, there's no good alternatives. I mean, look at this case. She goes to knock on her door because the woman threw something at her kids and hit him. I mean, how could you not go to her door? How could you not protect your kids? And she gets blasted through the door and killed instantly. Well, what the hell are you supposed to do? And it's because of our laws. Now, which leads me to the second point. Stand your ground. Yeah, first of all, they're like, oh, it definitely doesn't apply. But they thought about it for a couple of days. And that's the arresting sheriff saying that. But her defense lawyers are gonna say something else in court. Are you sure she's not gonna get off? I'm not at all sure. I mean, George Zimmerman attacked Trayvon Martin. And George Zimmerman had the gun and Trayvon Martin had Skittles. And Zimmerman got off. She said the neighbor was knocking too loudly. And so she was afraid. Are you sure she's not gonna win in Florida? That's the sick state of our country right now. I wish I had better news for you, but I don't. We gotta fix the laws, and our politicians are so corrupt, there's almost no chance of doing that. This is a really bad story, and it's indicative of how crazy this country has got.
Yeah, I mean, sadly, this story is about as American as it gets. I mean, quite literally, it's a racist killing paired with a false claim of ownership of property, right? And that's where I want to get into the reality that is, this is what the United States was made for. This is what the Second Amendment was made for. Quite literally, the Second Amendment was explicitly written with white supremacist mobs in mind, and specifically the desire to empower them. That is what it was about. And so fundamentally, I think this requires more than just a change in laws. I think this also requires a real societal change in the structures of power themselves, in who has power, who is empowered by our systems, how our systems operate on a pretty core level. Because at the end of the day, even if you change laws to make things better, just look at like the Civil Rights Act, for example, you see afterwards that if you leave the same people in power, if you leave the same people holding the same wealth and the same weapons, they will replicate the same exact systems of oppression. They will just find different ways to sort of couch it in different language to say that it's operating somehow differently and claim that it's not racist when it really is. And the reason why it ties into this is because her mentality was not born out of nowhere. Her racist violence was not born out of nothing. It very much is the result of the core heart of this country. It's quite literally what this country was founded on, is white supremacist violence. And so fundamentally, we need a serious restructuring of society, because when it comes to the legal system, when it comes to the justice system, like the policing system that we have in the United States is a white supremacist institution that was designed by and for white supremacists and has only been marginally tweaked around the edges. Our justice system is a white supremacist institution that was designed by and for white supremacists and has just been marginally changed around the edges. And so until we fundamentally change how all of these systems work, we will continue to see cases like this. And she might get prosecuted because she was actually saying the N-word, and that is apparently the only thing that counts as actual racism to right-wing weirdos out there, because they're unwilling to accept that racism could possibly exist outside of and beyond and in more subtle ways than just outright saying slurs. But like fundamentally, this is something that keeps happening across the country, and there's a reason for it. And it's because our country specifically empowers people like this.
So I lived in Florida for 3 years. I lived in Miami and I loved it. I had a great time there. It was about 25 years ago almost now. But now I'm gonna go back in a couple months and I'm a little worried about going back. One, they're now officially like a bigoted state with the Don't Say Gay bill. It's totally over the top. And I met a father from Miami. He happens to be a single gay father of 2 kids, and they won't even let the kids show pictures of their dad in school. It's disgusting, right? And now if you go, stand your ground as long as somebody doesn't call you the N-word, and even then maybe, right? All somebody has to do is pick a fight with you, and if you dare to fight back, they can just murder you. It's a very, very dangerous state, and I mean, you should have your head examined if you're voting for these Republicans. I mean, they've turned this into a nightmarish place, a place that used to be a great state.
I love this story. The only silver lining is it puts Republicans between a rock and a hard place of like fixing racism or like stopping our crazy gun laws. And they won't do either, right? So they're like, mental illness. She said the N-word. Oh, well, we like race. Damn it. Do we herald her? Do we invite her to the next Republican National Convention? I don't know. We trot her out like everybody else.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.